the megawatt charger case will be maybe a 3% overall case for truck charging. The rest will be CCS on a level of 400, 480, maybe 800 kilowatts, but not on the megawatt side. Especially some OEMs mentioned, well, infrastructure is missing. I don't see this at the moment. I see more that the cars are missing on the street to scale further on the infrastructure side. That in Saudi Arabia, for example, they have 4 plants being built right now. Lucid, Sear, joint venture of Foxconn, BMW, as well as Hyundai Kia is building a plant there, and also BYD is going there, also with a battery fabrication.
So now we are going to talk with the man, the myth, the legend when it comes to e-mobility, Mr. Wulf Schlachter. And we are going to find in this video a lot on e-mobility insights and what are the challenges and what are the solutions. So let's find out, Wulf. Should we start?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So hi, Wulf. Thank you so much for taking the time out, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And I'm really excited for this interview, to be honest.
Thanks, Asif, for the invite. So we spoke a lot of it in the past. So yeah, it's time to talk, say like this.
Of course. And I wanted to understand. So of course, a lot of people know you in the e-mobility space, but I would like to understand how you came into e-mobility. What are you doing to bringing it forward? But you have been doing it for a very long time. But I will let you take the center stage and explain where have you come from, what have you done over here, and what is on the horizon.
So that started in the end of 90s. I started as a lawyer in the, multimedia and the ecosystem of the first generation of, Web 0.1 or 1.0. And then I moved into telecommunication in the industry and built up some bigger companies. I was involved in some M&A processes during Telefonica times, so big telco, worldwide active, and I was responsible for global business consulting. So this was my beginning. Then I thought, well, merger and acquisition is not everything, and these customers are not endless. So I decided to carve out and build my own company called DXB Management. So from that point of view, we are working in the industry since more than 15 years. When I started with DXB Management, we focused on, the first activities on building CPOs, so charge point operators. Lots of things we made in the last years as charge point as a service. So build up CPOs and bring the expertise what we have in the company into the worldwide space. Lots of activities, from rumors. So I was the founder or co-founder and CTO of IONITY.
Oh, that's amazing.
Starting very early in 2016, 17, 18, ramped up the company, and then it was live. And later on, I also co-founded some EMSPs like digital charging solutions, or better known as Charge Now, if you drive a BMW or Mercedes.
Indeed.
So that's the case. And additionally, I scaled into international business. So we have built chargers worldwide.
That is an amazing background. Of course, whenever you're driving in Europe, you cannot charge past IONITY. That's one of the most premium charge point operators right now, and how they're expanding. And it's great to know that we are talking and learning from you right now. So now I would like to understand, after so much experience in collaborating in charging as a service, as well as creating new CPOs, understanding how the legalities work, I would like to understand the insights, what have happened in the past few years when it comes to EV registrations. Because there was a huge boom in 2019, 2020, at least in Germany. The number of registration of EVs was going through the roof. And suddenly right now there is in a stagnation phase. So I want to understand your perspective, how this industry developed and where we are right now.
So I say like this, in Germany, charging became a little bit a mature business. So you're used to. It's no longer the big thing. It's no longer the rocket industry. It's getting onto more a commodity level, and this means charging is getting more, dedicated on specific targets. So you find chargers at home, you find them wherever you could imagine, also on the motorways or wherever you need the charger. So it's no longer, how to say, when we started years ago, we decided, well, all the 150 kilometers or something like that, there must be a high-power charger park at the motorway. If you go out, drive across Germany or even Europe, I would say you always will find a charger which is, how to say, well, charging fast. If you're not in, how to say, southern part of Italy, there are still some missing, but anyway, I would say it became commodity and charging is no longer, I would say, from the discussion point, what we have seen already in the last weeks, especially some OEMs mentioned, well, infrastructure is missing. I don't see this at the moment. I see more that the cars are missing on the street to scale further on the infrastructure side. So this is, how I say, a chicken-egg or egg-chicken problem. So from my point of view, the topic is more related to the sale of the EVs in Central Europe.
So how we can get the sale of EVs to accelerate or to rise? What are the customer requirements that is still the gap?
So you have seen on the one hand side some funding activities from governments to ramp this up. This is nice. If they will, how will we stop, like in Germany in 2022? So you see that, well, the business is going down, of course, because the market is, how I say, stabilizing itself right now.
Yeah.
And you still have growing amount of EVs in the market, and also selling of EVs is what I read so far in some major OEMs, well, more than 20%. And this is always positive if you sell each fifth car as an EV and not a BEV, battery electric hybrid or whatever kind of cars coming up. This is, I would say, the topic which is important, that you still have a growth, not the 200% growth on the EVs, but you have still, I would say, a growth which helps you to also ramp up new charging sites, which are needed in some cases where you have lots of traffic, especially at the weekends. You see these sites which are overcrowded in some regions, mainly on the motorways or in, how I say, touristic regions. So this is a way where you have to still work on some activities.
And you mentioned around the lines government support. So I think you were mentioning subsidies, right?
Exactly.
So do you think the subsidies help, or do you think it creates unexpected demands, hikes, and then when
I don't like the subsidies topic at all. So normally a market has to develop itself without helping hands in best case. But especially on the EV side, on the EV charging side, it was definitely helpful to bring chargers also in the local areas or even in the home space. So this was definitely not a bad move. But the decision to cut it down or shorten it on a low level without, how to say, giving any help to commercial customers, which are still growing in the market. So in 2030, I think we will have something like 50% of EVs being operated by commercial fleets. And this is, how I say, the end consumer, well, on the one hand side versus the growing amount of fleet customers, this is a challenge to handle. But we have seen new subsidies or funding activities announced a few days ago, especially in Germany. This helps, especially for, well, bringing the fleets on commercial side a little bit ahead.
Okay, that's great. So I also believe that if we let the industry grow, now we have done subsidies part, abruptly it was taken apart, that made a bit life difficult for a lot of people, but now it's growing at the pace where we can see that that's a real demand.
Right.
But what is it all over the place? Right now we were just too much focused on Germany, but now I have time with you. You know US, you know Asia, you know Middle East. How is all over the region? Is it subsidized, or is it coming the more push from EV side from the OEMs?
So
who are the major influencers?
Completely different markets. So if you go to Middle East, for example, you see markets developed 10 years ago, like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, where the first installations came up, but they said, okay, 22 kilowatts, something like that must be enough, or 100 kilowatt is the maximum what you're allowed to install there. Nowadays it's changing because there are some markets, I would say, speeding up the business, mainly driven by own, EV production lines.
Okay.
So as you maybe heard or you know as well that in Saudi Arabia, for example, they have 4 plants being built right now. Lucid, Sear, joint venture of Foxconn, BMW,
Okay.
as well as Hyundai Kia is building a plant there, and also BYD is going there, also with a battery fabrication. And
Wow.
so you see that there is, how I say, pressure on the market, and so you see even that in Dubai is moving a little bit more than 10 years ago. So they
Okay.
also think about and talk about high power charging and fast charging, even in an, how I say, quite urban area where you know, okay, if I drive with my car to Abu Dhabi, this is 150 kilometers and back, maybe my car can reach it, so that's fine. But anyway, heat and temperatures, so you need a charger, which is exactly in the middle between Abu Dhabi and Dubai. A charger park being built years ago, but this is not enough, say it like this.
Okay.
If you talk about long haul, so we saw some trips from Riyadh, for example, with an electric car to Abu Dhabi. So this is a challenge what the guys are doing right now. And this is the same how we started in Europe as well, but on a different way. They come with the commercial vehicles because Saudi government has bought 25,000 cars from Lucid to bring them in the market.
Okay.
And they are commercial, or how I say, governmental driven. So this is different than, well, you come with a Tesla imported from Germany or from Europe, and then you bring the car into the market, then you have a different approach. You do not, how to say, make the money with the car, or you do not earn the money. So it's always a question of monetization at the end of the day.
So
If you have the need to, how to say, be present with your car somewhere, delivery cars or whatever, or well, medical cars for elderly people. So this is the case where you make money with, and so you need infrastructure on your own. Otherwise, you will fail if you only focus on public charging. So you see the development is quite different, and each market develops a little bit, how to say, more or less without funding or subsidies, and on the other side, very creative in some markets.
Okay, so regulations kind of play a role, but also now the pressure is coming from the companies, the new entrants. They are already bringing, you mentioned BYD. So if they are going to enter the market, it's already putting the signal, okay, we might need to change the strategy, and that puts pressure on OEMs.
You see some test markets, especially in Middle East and Asia, where BYD and the Chinese OEMs are coming up, and they are, how to say, testing with different car types. So
Okay.
there's an entry level. This is a cheap and awful, say it like this. And they offer this for 20k euros, something like that. And there's a, how would say, a luxury version, and they sell it for 67, 65,000k.
Yeah.
Same model, but how would say, different, even a different setup, and other battery sizes and so on. So you see that, I would say, especially Middle East is a test mark for Chinese. Not for Europeans. They are not coming that extreme, but they are pushing into the market because, as you know, from the global perspective right now, some markets are closed, not really open for European car makers. On the other side, you have the Chinese, which are also struggling on selling cars to for example, US right now, tax topics and so on. So you see that there are some game changers or some screws you have to take a look at, turning right or left. So that's the way how the market is acting at the moment.
Oh, that's interesting. We were talking, you mentioned earlier about truck charging, commercial vehicles in 2030, a lot of it will be pushed and driven by commercial vehicles. So I think I have two questions around the commercial vehicles, let's say about the trucks. So there is a discussion about MCS, Megawatt Charging, and there is also depot charging when the driver needs to take a break. So I'm working in the European market, so that's the regulations. I know after 4.5 hours, 45 minutes compulsory break, and after another 4.5 hours, I think it's 10 hours break. What do you see is the most attractive market right now? What will be the market that will grow the most in terms of, is it going to be MCS? Is it going to be more the 400, 500, 600 kilowatt chargers?
It's quite simple to give an answer. Depending on the resting times you have as a driver, you could imagine that MCS is simply too fast for the resting times of the drivers. So the optimum is something like, you have a 400 kilowatt charger and you're charging your, I would say, 600 kilowatt battery within 50 minutes or an hour up, and this is the time you need for your resting at the end of the day. So this is, I would say, the better use case than you think about MCS. So 1 megawatt, full power into the truck, and I would say from that point of view, if you take a look, the megawatt charger case will be maybe a 3% overall case for truck charging. The rest will be CCS on a level of 400, 480, maybe 800 kilowatts, but not on the megawatt side. So you see that the current situation, also the current demands what we have from our customers, because we're also working with logistics to bring the chargers in depots. The depot is not the problem because they have peak and pack times of load, which is 45 minutes. So that's exactly the time normally you need to recharge a truck from that point. That's perfectly fitting. So that's a way where you see that, I would say depot is complex wherever you have limitations from space. And then, you can't reserve, in the past you had maybe 50 ramps where you can park trucks. And then you take each second one you take out and place a charger there for charging. Then it's, half of the opportunities. And especially on my larger customer side, so these players which have just ordered 50 Daimler E-Actros or, for example, Volvo FH trucks, something like that, with larger ranges. So it's not enough to cut the half of the parking place to install some charging sites. Okay. So this is not the solution. So what you see, maybe you also heard some announcements in the past that the OEMs have established a company called Milence. They are building large charger parks. Very ambitious, to be honest. The amount of trucks is not in the market yet. But anyway, this is the future for long haul and especially on the motorway. And on the other side, you have the depots. Depot to depot is quite easy, I would say, if you have this commuting traffic between two sides, especially on the harbor business. So this is a typical use case what is been activated in the northern part of Germany, of course, of the harbor in the Netherlands. Even here in Gothenburg, the harbor, I've seen some trucks running around or driving around. And on the other side, you have to think about long-haul trucking. And that means if you have a depot somewhere, you can get there. Partnering models, APIs, interfaces being built to handle these kind of things. Collaboration is on partnering. It's the dedicated future you have to work on.
Now, I have two more questions. I've taken way too much valuable time, but thank you so much. Another trend of the future, what everybody talks about, is vehicle to grid. And over there, I also wanted to have your insights. How do you see vehicle to grid being implemented? Are there some roadblocks? And would it be easier to implement in some countries like Nordics compared to Germany, for example? So some entry barriers right now, and how do you see it being implemented?
So start from the beginning. Vehicle to grid is something like 10 years old from nowadays. So the first protocols were defined already 10 years ago, and you haven't seen, besides some use cases in the market, in some markets, not really a market appearance. So it's still in a use case mode, and there are players which are playing the game with 13 or 14 different potential partners. What you have seen, for example, with Renault and the R5, which is a perfect fitting car, and they are partnering in each country or lots of countries with 3 or 4 different partners to bring the car into the market. And this is, a game changer maybe in the future, especially in markets where you have not grid availability and also, lack of energy. If you talk about Norway, for example, that is not the case because the Norwegians have enough, energy from water they use, and so that's not the case. In Sweden, where we are right now, it looks a little bit different. So the Swedish guys have not so many water power, energy, and so on. So they think about these kind of use cases with OEMs. So the OEMs must be involved on the one hand side, and you need a platform to, how to say, charge bi-directional, even to, how to say, make the payment and the accounting bi-directional ready. And there are still some hurdles, especially from the tech side, because you as an end customer at the end of the day, are you writing an invoice to your utility you're working with, or the utility who's giving you the money normally, not you are spending the money? So this is a case where you have some, how to say, open discussions.
Or you're being double taxed sometimes.
Exactly. Then it's a dual tax, whatever, bi-directional tax, something like that. And this is a case where it's quite getting complex. And even, as you mentioned, regulation is hardly discussed right now.
Okay.
So I would say it will take some time. So the first case, especially talking about Germany, maybe you're going to see in end of 2026 or beginning of 2027. But it's a longer roadmap, say like this. It's not like, here it is and everyone can use it. There are also some unsolved problems behind what happens if you're going to sell the car. So you change the OEM hardware. So you have a wall box at home and you're charging with the wall box and you're giving the money to, the
grid?
To the grid. And at the end of the day, the new car you have bought or you got from your leasing partner or your leasing company is not compatible to that system. And this is a topic which has not been solved yet. If I change my Renault R5 into, for example, an ID bus or something like that, then you have these kind of interoperability problems, which brings you in a not really funny situation because you still have to replace the hardware, so the wall box as well.
Okay, thank you. My last question will be regarding you're working always on new startups, new ideas, trying to solve new challenges. So what are the startups that you're working on right now to solve which problems? Could you shed a light on it as well?
So as you know, I have lots of startups in running at the moment. So we are working also in the fleet and truck segment with a startup called Found from Norway. Why Norway? You could imagine because there the truck business is the electric truck business is much, experienced than in all other countries in the world, I would say. Then we have a company in Stuttgart called Ventus Technologies, also going in this space because if you're driving trucks, for example, here in Gothenburg area, we always have wind, or most of the years you have wind outside, and if you have tailwind or wind coming from the front, wherever the wind comes from, you have different weather conditions. So we are working on a model where the truck driver will get some information when he has to charge or where he has to stop due to you have crosswinds on bridges or something like that. It's on the one hand side advice to change even the driving behavior, or even change the route somehow because of some issues.
That's
Charging
amazing.
is, for example, occupied. Charger is occupied by someone, so there will be a more intelligent fleet system or solution being built on that topic that you can have a much better charging experience. Because as you can imagine, also from reservation side, if you have a truck and you have dedicated timelines, then you need this kind of reservation, and this is also part of the game behind. So the complexity, especially on the truck side, is multiple. Also with different platforms you can adapt, or you have to adapt to function an end-to-end ecosystem. Yeah, additionally, maybe you heard, we have one of our investments, we support since the very first beginning is FlexiCharge. Just made a funding round, 5 million euros.
Amazing, congratulations.
With Eneco and eMobility Ventures. So from that point, also quite successful running up, especially in the energy brokerage landscape. So that's part, and also some other, let's say, undercover project running.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Wulf. before I let you go, sorry, I just have one last question. To make commercial charging really attractive and scale up in Europe, do you have any price corridor where the kilowatt hours should lie so that it's easier to adopt? Maybe 20 to 30, 40 cents, something?
So I had a discussion yesterday on a roundtable. And it was quite interesting to see because everyone was talking about, the output, what you see from, for example, ad hoc charging. Mm-hmm. So 79 cents per kilowatt hour, whatever kind of amounts, €1.19 per kilowatt hour. If you go via a, non-regulated business, so different CPOs in wherever. So you have a large gap and you have to fill the gap. And from my point of view, what I have seen is that the OEMs have to put a little bit more, pressure into this game. So I think that especially they have to take care on also the pricing at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. Of their networks they are offering. So you know that Volkswagen is offering Volkswagen Elli, mm-hmm. BMW, Mercedes is offering DCS. So I think that there is another or still an opportunity to get the prices down. And maybe you also have seen some new, collaborated models like you have, which have been announced a few weeks ago, between IONITY, Fastnet, Atlante, and Electra.
Open Alliance.
And from that point of view, I think that these kind of things will also help from a long-term perspective to get the prices down. Because if you think about a collaboration on the energy, buying part of energy, there you have a much higher opportunity to buy energy cheaper if you are working in these kind of collaborated models so far. So I think there is still lots of opportunities, and you see that the Spark models, like it's called, it's getting more popular because there was some more announcement in the last weeks, especially on price optimization.
Okay.
On the other side, you have two different markets. You have the consumers, which are, I don't want to quote Felix Hammer, but they are quite price sensitive. Mm-hmm. If you take a look on the commercial vehicles, that is not that like it looks like from outside. Mm-hmm. So if you have to bring food or whatever with a truck from A to B and you earn the money with the truck, you have a different approach than if a truck driver is not looking on the price on the charger. So the availability is the most important thing. And so far, if they would pay 98 cents per kilowatt hour versus another one who has, I would say, a better contract, only 49 or 40 or 59. So that's the challenge, I would say, from the pricing side to get a little bit more control on that.
I was thinking that it should not exceed more than 40 cents. So that
that's an issue. If you go to other markets in other countries, you see they have much lower prices than 40 cents. So in Europe, there are some players like in eastern part of Europe, so Lithuania, Latvia, and so on. Then they have 18 cents per kilowatt hour. Even on an IONITY charger, which is located somewhere.
Amazing.
So in Lithuania, so that's magic, I would say. So it's always depending on the local energy policy and also
the diesel prices
and the prices as well. Yeah, that's the challenge.
Okay, thank you so much, Wulf. It was really nice and a pleasure to talk to you today and getting all of this information. Thank you so much for being so transparent and honest, and I really appreciate it. And so will, I think, a lot of viewers who are going to watch it.
Thanks, Hasib. It was always a pleasure, and see you soon on the next conference, maybe.
For sure. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.